Alright guys, today's lecture is on decimals. So we'll talk about decimals here. We're going to start with essentially looking at a decimal number. Let's look at something like 3,221.476, and we'll go all the way out to 5, like that. Okay, now, place holding. Okay, just so we are aware, all right, and I know we are, but just to review, this is the thousand spot, hundred, 10, or tens, okay, and ones. When we get to our decimals, the first one past the decimal is the tenths. Okay, this is the hundredths. Thousandths. No D. Thousandths. And this is the 10,000ths. What this is really telling us with the fractions is, with the decimals, is that we're really talking about a fraction. Okay? This is really, this 0.4 is telling us I have 4/10ths of something. I have 4 over 10, 7 over 100, 6 over 1,000, 5 over 10,000. So what this book lecture does, or the book that was used to make these lectures does, is expands this into a notation. It takes the 3 and say, well, since I'm in the thousand spot, it's really 3 times 1,000 plus 2 times 100 plus 2 times 10 plus 1 times 1. And then when we get down here, okay, 4 times 1 over 10, because we're in the tenths. There's a plus here. 7 times 1 over 100 plus 6 times 1 over 1,000 plus 5 times, keep putting my parentheses in the wrong spot, 1 over 10,000. Okay. Now if I were to do all this math, I would end up with this number right here. So this is called expanded notation on our decimal. So we should be able to look at an expanded notation and write out our decimal. Okay, so if I had something like, 3 times 100 plus 0 times 10 plus 8 times 1 plus 5 times 1/10 plus 0 times 1 over 100 plus 8 times 1 over 1,000. And they want me to write the number out. Well, 3 times 100, 3. So we're going to talk about 300. There is no 10 spot, 0 times 10. So that becomes a 0. 8 times 1, 8. Okay. 5 times a tenth, 0.5. 0 times 1 over 100, 0. 8 times 1 over 1,000. So what we would say, this is 308. Okay. 308. 308. And 508 thousandths. So if we were writing this in words, it would be 308 the decimal, you could say and. 500 and, or 508 thousandths. If I could spell today. I'm running out of room here. Thousandths. Okay. So that's expanded notation, how to write a decimal out in expanded notation. And as you guys suggested, I did put up review videos of everything I'm going to cover in addition to my video plus the review sheets. Okay, so there'll be a folder. There's a folder under the contents area with this lecture video and some review videos. Let's talk about adding decimals and subtracting. It's pretty straightforward. It's just like adding anything, except you have to take into account there's a decimal there. And you got to make sure you line the decimals and the placeholders up. All right, make sure everything is lined up, that the tenths are lined up with the tenths, the ones are lined up with the ones, and then you just do your basic adding, bring your decimal down. Okay. So 10, carry the 1, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is the answer there. Make sure everything lines up. If you don't know the number here, put an X or a 0. 5, 9, 5, 1. Same thing with subtraction. All right. 3.68 minus 2.37, something like that. Bring the decimal down. Make sure your numbers are lined up. The hundredths with the hundredths, the tenths with the tenths, the ones with the ones. So 1.31 right there. Let's see another one. If I had something like 100.11 minus 2.672. Let's say we had something like that. For our intents and purposes, we assume that's a 0 there. Okay. Make this a 0. Borrow. 10 minus 2 is 8. Borrow again. 10 minus 7 is 3. Can't borrow here. We got to kind of borrow here, then borrow here. So this will be a 9. This will be a 9. This will be a 10. All right, so 4, then 7, 9. 97.438. Now, if I add these two numbers together, I should get this top number here. But the key to this is bring the decimal down. Make sure you line up everything. And I give you enough review problems to get that down. If you don't line them up, of course, you're going to get the wrong answer. Now, multiplying, that becomes a little interesting. But I'll show you a down and dirty trick. So let's say we have 3.2 times 2. Okay, over here I'm going to do 32 times 2. So if we're doing 32 times 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. Okay? That's how we would do it. How about with the decimal? All right. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. Still 64, but now I have this decimal to worry about. So what I do is, however many decimal places there are, so there's one decimal place, I've got to bring over the decimal one place just like so. Okay. So 6.4 would be our answer. Okay. And just to show you, if I did 3.2, say, times 2.0, well, we do 0 and 0, so 0 and 0. We put our little placeholder, and if you don't remember this, go back to our first chapter, first presentation, PEMDAS and stuff like that. We'd bring over to 4, we'd bring over to 6, we'd add up everything, we'd have 0, 4, 6. How many decimal places are there? There's 1, there's 2 decimal places, so we make it 6.40, just like that. What if I had multiple decimal places? What if it was like 3.21 times 2.2? All right, don't get confused or anything. Just pretend the decimal's not there for right now. Pretend it's 321 times 22. So I got 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. All right, so we got 642. Then I have 2 times 2 is, we put the little placeholder, 2 times 2 is, or 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and the 6 there. And then we add it up. 2, 6, 10, carry the 1, 7, 7, 0, 6, 2. Now, how many decimal places do I have? I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So move this 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So the number of decimal places there are, 2 here, 1 here. Move your decimal that many to the left in your answer. And just do it like you're doing your basic multiplication, like if there wasn't a decimal there. Let's try one more. That'll be 4 examples on this. Okay. 52.317 times 2.341. Okay, let's make it a little bit longer than usual. Okay, so let's carry this all the way out, long way. 7 times 1 is 7, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 5 is 5. Put our placeholder. 4 times 7 is 28. You know what? I'll do this in different colors so we can see what's going on here. So, 7 times 4 is 28. Carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 6. Or sorry, 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8. Make that a 9. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. Put in 2 placeholders. Let's move on to the next number. Let's move on to the 3. 3 times 7 is 21. 1. Carry the 2. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2. That's 5. Okay. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 5 is 15. If I made a math error, just let me know. I know you will in an email or something. All right. Now we put in 3 holders. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1 this time. 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. Now we would add all of this together to get our answer. So I have a 7 here. 8 and 1 is 9. This is a 10. Carry the 1. All right. 5, 7, 9, 10. Carry the 1. 18. 9. Oh, I missed the 4 down here. My bad. So we got 9, 11, 13, 14. 14. Carry the 1. 12. 9 and 3 is 12. 21. 26, 27. Carry the 2. 12, 14. Carry the 1. 12. Carry the 1. 2. Okay, so we did this big long problem. Now, how many decimal places do I have? I got 3 here. I got 3 here. I got to move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 122.474097. And in case you're wondering, this is the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, the 100,000s, the millions. So this would be a 122, okay, and 474,097 millions. Okay. All right. How about division? Well, division into a decimal we already looked at. Okay. So let's say it's 3 divide. Do square root again. I always do square roots with my long division. I used to get yelled at in grade school for that too. 3 goes into, it doesn't matter, 9.93. All right, if I'm doing this and the decimal is underneath the division sign, just bring the decimal up and treat it just like you would any long division. 3 times 3 is 9. That's 0. Bring down the 9. 3 goes into 3, or 9 3 times. That's 9. Bring down the 3. 3.31. Okay. What if, though, okay, I have something like this. 0.3 divided into 9.93. 0.93. Okay, so 3/10 divided by 9, or into 9.93. 9.93 divided by 3/10. So you could do it the fraction way if you wanted to turn these into fractions. But the easiest way to do it is make this a whole number out here. Move the decimal. So I move the decimal one spot. But if I move the decimal one spot out here, I've got to move it one spot in here. Okay, so it becomes 99.3, excuse me. So 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 0, 9. 3 goes into 3, or 9 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Bring that down. 3 goes into 3, 1. 2, 2. All right, minus 3. 0. And bring the decimal up. And your answer is 33.1. And you could test it out in your calculator. Take 9.93, divide it by 0.3, and you'll see you'll get that same answer. So if there's a decimal on the outside, all right, if there's one on the inside, just bring it up. But if there's a decimal on the outside, move the decimal until you make it a whole number. Okay, you might have to move it multiple spots. What if, and I'll stick with the same, like 0.3. Yeah, let's do something else. Let's do like 0.05. Something like that. And I want to divide that into 100, 1.10. Let's do that. Okay, how many spots am I going to move to make a whole number? Well, to make a whole number, I have to go all the way out here with no decimal. So I can't put it here because it'll be 0.5. I can't put it here, or 0.55. Can't put it here because it'll be 5.5, so I got to move it 3 spots. So it'll be 55. But I also got to move the inside 3 spots. So 1, 2, and then we put another 0 there. So this is going to become 1, 1, 0, 0. Okay. So 55 doesn't go into 1. 55 doesn't go into 11. 55 goes into 110 twice. Okay. Which is 110. Bring that down, and we're left with 20 as our answer. Okay. Because 0 goes, or 55 goes into 0 0 times. Okay. All right. Now, what about turning fractions into decimals, decimals into fractions? We kind of talked about it in fractions already. All right, if it's 3/4, the way to do it, again, to figure it out, take the bottom and divide it into the top. Take your denominator, divide it into your numerator. We'll review that. 4 goes into 3. All right, 4 goes into 3. Well, it doesn't. Okay, so we need to put a decimal in, right? Because now we're out of numbers. So let's do that. 4 goes into 30. All right, 7 times 4 is 28. And now we're just dividing into a decimal. 30 minus 28 is 2. We're still not done. If we want a full decimal and not a remainder, we talked about this with remainders and things like that. 4 goes into 0. Bring it down. 4 goes into 20. Okay. 5 times 4 is 20. And we're left with 0.75. Now, to show you how that's a decimal, and it's also going to be equal to this fraction, well, let's look at it. 0.75. This is the tenths, right? And this is the hundreds. I'm just going to do that, okay? So, how would we say this? This is 75 over 100. Okay. Is that equal to 3/4? Well, 25 goes into 75 3 times and 4 times. So it works out. What about something like 0.13, like that? What is that? Well, tens, hundreds. So take your number, 13, and put it over whatever the last spot is on your decimal. That's 13 100ths. There's no number that goes into both besides 1, all right, equally. So 13 100ths is where it stays. And that continues on. Okay, that continues on if you need to write your decimals as fractions. 0.621. This is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So this is 621 over 1,000. And if you have to reduce, you could try to reduce. Let's do something simple. 0.6. 0.6, that's the tenths, 6/10. Now that could be reduced to 3/5. Okay. So it's pretty much straightforward as long as you know what your places are. So what if I had a mixed fraction? All right, what if I had like 3 3/5 and I wanted to write it as a decimal? All right, so you keep the 3 and then put a decimal in because the fraction part is the decimal. Well, what is 3/5? Well, you could do this two ways. You can go 5 into 30. All right, 5 into 3, which ends up being 5 into 30. All right. So 5 doesn't go into 3, so we put the decimal there. So 5 goes into 36 times, minus 3.0. There's my 0. So 3.6. There is another way you can do it. Look at your 3/5. Keep the 3. Whatever the number out is in front, that's going to be in your position here in front of the decimal. If it's 100, if it's 1,000, if it's 10, just bring it down, then put the decimal. But I can look and I could say this. If I know my placeholders, I know the first placeholder is 1/10. So what is this an equivalent fraction to? Okay, 3/5. What can I make 3/5 to be the same? Well, 5 times 2 gives me 10, so 6/10. There it is. So you could do it two ways. So if I had a number like this, 4.1, let's do it that way. And I wanted to write it as a fraction, a mixed fraction. 4, what position am I in? The tenths, and I have a 1. 4 and 1/10. Now I want to write it as an improper fraction. Remember, multiply and add. 41/10. 25.37. Write it as a mixed fraction. 25, 10s, hundreds, 37 100ths. So 25 and 37 100ths. All right, and that's all we cover with decimals, guys. So there's this video, there's the review sheets, and there's a couple more videos from Khan Academy up on Blackboard. If you need me, again, I'll be live Monday and Wednesday for your questions, but you can also hit the discussion board up, or you can send me an email. All right, guys, thanks a lot.